get it started now. Freedom, 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 freedom. My freedom begins at Life Force Canada.
Welcome to Life Force Canada. I'm Karen Klassen. I trust everyone had a wonderful Easter weekend. I know it's Easter Monday, so a lot of people are still with their family, but I'm here every Monday just reminding everyone that we are not alone and we are moving forward, standing for freedom, and will continue to do so. I have an amazing guest here that I'm excited to have on our call. He can only be with us for about 30 minutes or so, so we're going to get right to it. As you know, one of our missions here at Life Force Canada is connecting with other freedom movements here in this country and finding a way to work together. Life Force Canada is focusing on creating a self-governing system, a parallel structure, a self-governing system where every town is sustainable, growing their own foods, and reminding people of their rights and how to be sovereign and responsible for their actions, and of course contributing to the restoration plan. Now, I had the pleasure of connecting with Eddie on a Freedom Rising conference call with about 70 other amazing leaders in the freedom movement here in Canada, and I just loved what he had to share, and I knew I had to have him on here and let him know how much we support his mission. Now, just a little bit about Eddie. He has served 22 years as a gunner in the Royal Canadian Horse Artillery. I love horses, by the way. He was stationed several places within Canada as well as in Europe. And during his military career, which was very rewarding and challenging, he received a Medal of Bravery, amazing. And since then, he has worn many hats, such as being an auxiliary police officer with the Ontario Provincial Police. He now lives on a magical 30 acres of paradise in New Brunswick. And the skills that he's gained over the years has made him really an effective member of the freedom movement. And he has dedicated his time to fighting for freedom. Please welcome Eddie Cornell from Veterans for Freedom. Welcome, Eddie.
Hi, Karen. Thank you very much. Nice to see everybody today. Thanks for inviting me.
You're so welcome. Now, many of us saw what was happening in Ottawa from the videos that were being shared. It was really beautiful to see the love and everyone connecting. However, the other side was shocking, to say the least. And you were boots on the ground and you witnessed it all. Can you share your experience and how that ignited the Veterans for Freedom organization?
Sure. Well, first of all, I went just as a guy. I showed up. I went to the rally. I didn't have a function. I was just compelled to go. I was spotted by a couple of people, and we spoke. And they said, "Hey, how would you like to work with us?" And, I got pulled in behind the scenes and assisted the truckers in any way that we could. It was a terrific experience. You know, to see a group of people that hadn't met prior to them coming to Ottawa, watching them come together and form a community in a sense that, you know, all the truckers brought when they arrived in Ottawa. It was terrific, you know, seeing how the community came together. They had fuel, they had food, they took care of everybody's needs. And I was there to help support them to do that. And I think it was probably one of the best experiences that I've ever had in my life. You know, our government, you know, really proved to Canada and the world that they really didn't want to listen to what Canadians had to say. So they just decided that they were going to come in and show overwhelming force and intimidate and beat people until they submit to whatever their you know, agenda is. And that sent a very clear message to not only the rest of Canada, but around the world. And I guess as a result of that, that's what sparked our new movement, which is Veterans for Freedom. veterans showed up in numbers in Ottawa. I put out a call. I don't know if anyone saw it, but I put a call out on different social media platforms for veterans to come, and they came. They came in big numbers. And I really think it made a difference in Ottawa. You know, the veterans stood between the protesters and the police. And you've probably seen the videos where a lot of the veterans were basically beaten up by the police. And it's disgraceful. You know, they were standing in solidarity with the truckers, showing nonviolence, and the only ones displaying the violence were the police. And it was quite a sight to see. So here we are a short time later with a national organization of veterans that have come together across the country, and it's skyrocketing. That's all I can say. It's taken on a life of its own, and I think we're really going to be a high-profile organization. And I would expect that the government is not going to like seeing us come together, and they'll try to discredit us. So we're being very mindful of how we do it, and that we cover our bases very well and remain peaceful, and convey a message of hope and let citizens know that we're there to support you and we've got your back.
I love it. I love it, Eddie. And it's so sad to hear what happened. I know that there was issues with bank accounts as well, right?
Yeah, I was one of the guys that had his bank account frozen. Yeah, I wasn't charged with any crime. I was very surprised. I had to travel back to New Brunswick, which is where I call home now. And I was lucky I had some cash in my pocket, because there was no way I could tackle any of my bank accounts. In fact, they even went after my insurance for my home and my car. Thank God the insurance companies decided that they weren't going to comply with that, and they didn't do that. So they didn't shut me down. But as far as any of my financial situations with my banks, they locked it down, and they tracked me till I got home. So it was locked down for 4 days.
Oh my gosh. And a few of the people that were beaten, so sad. You knew them, and one of them, he served in Afghanistan as well, correct?
Yeah, Chris Deering. Yeah, he was known on the line in Ottawa that he was the lone survivor of an IED where all of his crew was killed. He sustained very serious injuries, and he was there with the rest of the veterans standing on the line. They grabbed him, kneed him in the stomach, ripped off one of his medals, threw him to the ground, and 3 of them put the boots to him, kicking him in the head, in the back, and also in the legs. Yeah, it was pretty disturbing.
Absolutely. It was really devastating to witness it. And I know that your organization, it's sad to say, but out of every negative situation, there's always good that comes out of it. And I would love for you to share, what your mission is in your organization. Like, what do you guys stand for?
Well, we stand for freedom, first of all. And what we're going to do is, as an organization, be highly visible. We're going to be providing security to protests. We can be liaisons between police and protesters. We are actually going to have a lot of our members become licensed security, so that when we're at events, we can actually be doing a function, and they're all volunteers. Nobody's getting paid to do this. I think it would give some kind of, credibility to the members when dealing with police, when they're acting in the form of security. We can help protests and other groups with intelligence and operational structures that they may want to engage in, that, we might be able to give advice of how they could proceed. We have a lot of experience in doing things like that. So I think as well, the other organizations can assist us, and, collectively we can make sure the message gets to the people that are the decision makers. Sitting behind a computer or a keyboard is not the way to get things done. It's one tool, but you need to be boots on the ground, and that's that's what our calling is. We're going to be out in the street, and we're going to be highly visible, and we're going to do what it takes, and peacefully, of course. We're not trying to make ourselves look like we're going to have some kind of violent uprising and overthrow the government. That's not our aim. We want to be lawful, stay within the law, stay in our lane. But I think the government will be very surprised when they have to deal with thousands of veterans that aren't happy. I don't think they're going to quite know how to handle us. So I'll be curious to see how they come after us, because I suspect that they'll stop at nothing. So we'll see. We're ready.
Love it. And I want to invite all of your members to join us, as one of our pillars in Life Force Canada is security. And we are creating intentional communities, as you know, across Canada. And we're going to need people like you so that these towns and communities, places where people can really feel safe and secure. And I know that you have a lot of incredible people, brothers and sisters across Canada, as you mentioned, are joining your organization. And I believe you mentioned it was expanding rapidly. And I love when you said that you're on so many Zoom calls, right? That you haven't seen your wife in a while. I get it, right? It's an important mission. Can you share who is joining your organization?
Yes. All retired members. There's nobody active at this point. We're not recruiting active personnel. We have members from many decades of service, recent release people that were released under 5F, which is training failures because they didn't take the vaccine. So we've got a lot of experience in the field. We have administrational people. We have basically every facet that you would need to get a job done. People with a lot of skills. With your group, for example, setting up security for your communities that you're building. Yeah, we can assist with that. That's something that we know what to do. Survival skills are things that we know, and they're the things that we can teach others. I mean, we've put those skills to use, and we want to share and collaborate with other groups that need assistance, because this is new for a lot of people. A lot of people jumped into this basically only in the past 2 years.
Yes.
So I guess they're kind of like newborns in a sense, that they haven't found their way in the world yet, and they are having a tough time believing that the world is the way it is. But the reality is, it is that bad, and we need to change it. And I think you're right with building parallel communities. I think that's a great way to go, because the less compliance and the less dependency that you need on that system, the freer you are. So, money is important, but when you set up other communities, money becomes your skill. Your skill is worth money, and it's worth trading. And, everybody brings something to the table. So I think that's where communities that are parallel work very well.
Thank you. And I love what you said on the call when we were chatting, is if we as veterans don't set an example for others to follow, who will? And I would like to expand on that and say, if we as leaders, right, don't set an example for others to follow, who will? And I believe that in the sovereign community, as we become self-governing, right, we are all going to be leaders. So I think we all need to set that example of what that looks like. And right now, there are so many leaders who are creating division, which is creating red flags for so many people. And I believe the ones who are in integrity, kind, and are respectful, following through with right action are going to be the ones who rise up. And I know that your organization is so necessary, and we all support you. What do you believe that we need to do or know to ensure that we do have a future of freedom?
Well, I think you're already doing it, forming groups and finding what each person's skills are and what they bring to the table. That's really paramount. The way I see it is, I only bend the knee to the good Lord above. I will never take the knee to any government or any person. So that's something that all of us need to find, give yourself a gut check and say, this is real, this is happening, and we need to deal with it. And fear is something that can either make you run away or make you run forward. Let fear be a motivator to keep you moving forward, not backwards. There's nothing back there for us. We need to go forward. So I would say, trust your instincts, listen to that voice in the back of your head that's telling you right from wrong. Listen to those little hairs on the back of your neck when they stand up in fear. It's something that you're going to get used to. And remember, the life we had before is gone. It's not there anymore. The world has moved on in a direction that's different than any of us have experienced before. So we don't have a roadmap or a manual to go by. We can only go by sticking together, finding like-minded people. I think the days of trying to wake people up is too late. The people that are asleep, you know who they are. I'm not going to waste any more time trying to wake those people up. If they don't come around, that's their problem. The people that have come together in your groups and other groups, those are the people that are going to form the new communities. The rest, hopefully they do, but we can't let them drag us down into the point where we can't get something accomplished. So, and where you set up your communities, it's going to be very important how you do it, because there's no room for failure. This is something that you have to be successful with, and planning and doing it correctly and reaching out is the first thing that a group needs to do to be successful. So I admire what your group is doing. You're on the right path. And I think that, if things go the direction it seems to, you'll be a leap year ahead of the others that choose to not believe.
Thank you, Eddie. Your words mean a lot to me right now. So thank you. I know that there's some projects that your organization is working on. Can you share what those are, even if it's just ground floor?
Well, I don't want to say too much because, I think, yeah, there's so much happening at the moment. I mean, we didn't expect this amount of growth this quickly. So I think I'd like to keep it fairly close to my chest at this point. The good things will be coming. You're going to hear and see Veterans for Freedom out there. And, we want to work with groups like yours and other groups and, make sure that our message is clear of what we want and where we're going. What happens to a lot of groups is that they get hijacked by people that want to take the glory or subvert your group. Yes. You'll get infiltrators that want to discredit your group, and that goes with every type of organization. So I could only advise your group to be mindful of people that join your group, vet everybody carefully, have a system in place to interview your candidates and keep those people that are infiltrating out of there, and you'll be successful, because you've probably seen a lot of groups get taken over, or somebody speaks on behalf of a group and things take a turn sideways. And you've seen it from the Freedom Move forward and spoke, and let's just say there was a lot of people vying for the top job to represent the truckers in Ottawa, and a lot of them were self-appointed. So that happens in all your groups. So just be mindful of keeping things amongst your group.
Thank you for that, Eddie. We've been very blessed in Life First Canada thus far. we do have incredible members that are really focused on supporting one another, uplifting one another, and encouraging one another. And I think that, you know, as we move forward, I'm all about frequency. I'm all about energy. And so as we put out this energy of knowing that we're attracting really good people, heart-centered people, we're going to continue on that path. What you're saying is so important because of the Armageddon programming, the narrative the government is creating as well. It's creating a lot of mistrust. And so people are really fearful of one another. And if we have that fear of one another, we're really going to have a really difficult time moving forward. And so I love how you express that you are creating this incredible organization from a place of integrity and knowing that we all have the power to work towards a beautiful future together. How can we support you? I know you have a fundraiser coming up. I know you're
We
in
do.
Brunswick.
We've put together a fundraiser on the 28th of April in Burlington at the Polish Hall. I'll be traveling from New Brunswick to go to the dinner. It's practically sold out. I think we only have 13 tickets left. I think we have a top end of 250. So that was a surprise. I was shocked that we actually were able to put that together. We had some great volunteers behind the scenes getting it done. We do have, I don't want to sound like we're soliciting money, but you know, we do accept donations because it allows us to put boots on the ground. I mean, we have members across the country, and what we want to be able to do is groups can put in an action request into our site and say, you know, we would like to have 4 or 5 veterans to act as security or some other capacity to be able to speak, and submit the request to us, and we can get guys out there. I mean, we already had a request to be at the Calgary Stampede, so I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see. They wanted me to ride a chuck wagon for a while. I don't know about that, but I've never ridden a chuck wagon before, but we'll see.
Well, if you do come to Calgary, that's where I live. And
Okay.
yes, love to give you a big hug.
Good. Yeah, I like that. Kind of the things that, you know, if you have any questions or something that, you know, you think we could help you with, by all means, submit an action request to us and we will definitely follow up with you. And, you know, if it's a matter of if you're having a camp out of some kind, or you're having some kind of training going on, we can help with guys to come in and show you how to do certain things, how to assist with your own security. I mean, wherever we can assist, we would do our best to be there to help you. And we'll be there publicly at different protests, and, you know, being that sort of buffer between the powers that like to push people around and the people that are trying to get their message out. So I think we're going to be multifaceted.
Yes, I'm sure that many of our plan councils across Canada are going to be inviting you to share presentations on all those subjects. It's going to be important.
Good. Yeah, we'd be happy to do it.
Ken has a question. Can Eddie explain the USA military in Northern Alberta?
Actually, I can't. I can't speak to that. I've heard a lot of rumors. I don't have any intelligence that's confirming anything. Generally, though, I can speak as to why there might be a foreign power on our soil. Generally, it's a training exercise between our military and other militaries. So as part of NATO, that's pretty common. So I wouldn't get too worried about that at this point. I think it's probably something that's, you know, training for NATO missions. At this point, you know, with Ukraine going on, who knows what Canada's involvement will be at some point. So yeah, I wouldn't be overly concerned. The one I would like to know, if people have information, is any movement of Chinese troops that you see in Canadian territories at all. I've heard rumors, but I haven't seen anything. So, you know, keep an eyes and ears open, and anybody that could filter stuff would be great. Pass it along and we can validate it and see what's going on. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Eddie. And Scott has a question. Is there an Alberta division of Veterans for Freedom?
Hi, Scott. Yeah, actually, we have representation right across the country now in every province. What we're doing is we're setting up regional commands. I hate to keep using the military terms, but we're setting up regional commands, and there'll be a sort of a commander for each area across the country that will liaise with groups in that area. So yeah, we'll be there for sure.
Eddie, just want you to know that I have a range membership that's also a campground near my home. We could get it very reasonably if you ever needed to organize something here.
That's terrific. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you could email us at info@veteransforfreedom.ca, that would be terrific. We would love to hear that. Yeah.
Done deal.
Thanks for the offer.
One of my best friends is former JTF. He would be proud and honored to help.
That would be great. Send them our way, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So Jim is asking, did any of the police officers who resigned join your group?
No, we're only taking Canadian Forces veterans. They may have joined Police for Freedom. That's quite possible. As you know, Vincent Gersey's looks, he's the regional director or the Canadian director for that. So he'd be a better person to direct that question to.
Are you open to taking another question?
Sure. Yeah. I got 3 minutes. So great.
Sherry.
Just quickly, Eddie, I have a friend who's a truck driver who's been sending me text messages about consistent reports of foreign military traveling to and from and within Alberta and British Columbia. Is that the kind of thing that you'd like to be connected with that person?
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you. If you could
info at
send them our way. Info@veterans4freedom.ca.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Sherry.
And for everyone, the website is veterans4freedom.ca.
Correct. Yeah. Our website is new. Please bear with us. We're expanding it as we speak. There'll be more information. Each week, we're going to have a weekly sit rep. So people can go onto our site, hit the sit rep, and it'll give you updates of things that we're doing and things that are up and coming or news that people might need to know. So we want to be an information base as well, and we'll have resources as we go on there as well, so that if you have a concern or something you'd like to know about, there'll be information point you to the direction that you need.
Brian, you have 1 minute.
I just
Brian.
wanted to ask, Eddie, you had your bank account frozen. Could you elaborate on that? Some of the details, that could be very important.
Yeah, Canadians should be very worried that government in retaliation could come at any person that isn't charged with a crime nor convicted of a crime and seize your assets, your financial assets. I have a federal court challenge right now. The JCCF is representing me and 3 others that were, fortunate enough to have our accounts locked down. There was over 200 that did, but we were chosen as the people to go forward with the case. So whether we win or lose, it's going to be a case of record. As a constitutional challenge, I don't know how it's going to. Am I hopeful? Not really, because the courts have shown that they're politically motivated. So I think that the charter isn't going to be the protection that we all hope to get this resolved with people, with their bank accounts. And just so people know in your group that right now they could actually seize your accounts if you speak out or say something they don't like. That's still in effect. So they could come after any one person at any moment for something that you say or do and lock you down. Whether they do it or not, that remains to be seen, but they have the ability at this point to still do that.
So we should be taking lots of cash out of our bank accounts.
I would highly recommend if you can pay cash with everything that you do as much as possible and move your funds into somewhere safe. I'm not a financial advisor by any means, but yeah, it's something that really scared the pants off a lot of people because they locked down credit unions, banks, all the main banks. Anything where you could find a place to store your money, they came after it. And I don't think they're done with me at this point either. I think, I think there'll be charges possibly coming down the road as well, because I did assist with the truckers, and I was behind the scenes and I was visible in front of the camera. So we'll see. We'll see.
You have access to your accounts now, and was the bank regretful of what they had to do, or did they just go along with it?
They went right along with it. It was only 4 days that my accounts were locked, but the banks, they were compelled to by the RCMP. So they didn't have to do it, but they chose to do it. So am I happy? No. Do I want to deal with that bank? No, not really. But moving it from one bank to another really doesn't change much. You have to find other places to keep your money. And I wish I had the answer for that, because I mean, they can't account for $6 billion in federal spending, but they can find out who donated $20 to the truckers. That should tell you something.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Eddie, thank you. I know you have another call.
I do.
Yes. And we support you in
Thank
your
you.
mission. And we appreciate all of the veterans who are dedicating themselves to the cause. And so grateful for all of you. Thank you. And we'll be in touch very soon.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for letting me speak to you tonight. I really enjoyed the call. Hopefully I'll see you all again. Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. As everyone knows, we've been talking about this, most likely was probably last fall, in regards to anyone that has a lot of money in their bank accounts. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but we're hearing what is actually happening. This is about us being smart, right? Being prepared for any potentiality. And so I'm really glad that you asked that question, Brian. So thank you.
Anything we can do to get our stealable money or assets out of the bank and put it in places that is useful and accessible to us. Having a silver certificate is useless to you because it's going to become just paper, folks.
Yes.
So physical metals like silver, gold, lead, food, supplies, any survival supplies are the things you want to invest in. Money in the bank is going to go south. It will be gone.
Thank you, Scott. I think a lot of people really need to hear this right now. My dad's got a lot of money in the bank, and I'm like, Dad, come on, let's move it out of there.
You're so right, Karen.
Yeah. So.
And with inflation, your money's going to be worthless anyway.
Yes. So yeah, it's transferring it over to, right, as you mentioned, gold, silver, and assets that can be traded. Okay, so let's move into pivot over here to a Q&A. I think that as we move forward, in light of what Eddie shared as well, that our focus needs to be on intentional communities. So it's just playing within our own mind. If the internet goes down, if you have no access to your phone, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying from that perspective, how are you going to be in the world? How are you going to show up? Do you have a community around you? Are you prepared? And so this is why, to me, our council model is still really, really important. Because as we are creating intentional communities, we still need structure, okay? Okay, let's just take a deep breath, that life force energy. And just remember that our aim at Life Force Canada, as a collective, all of us here, is to create a free and prosperous future for us all. And knowing that as we move forward, we're going to be moving into more of a contributionism model. We're going to be moving into a resource-based economy. And the whole money thing is not going to matter anymore. However, it's a step-by-step process because we're so ingrained, we're so programmed in the human slavery system. We're so programmed in the savior system, in the savior program. And it's really time to exit the matrix. We've been talking about this a lot, and really bring back the power to the people and to every town. And as we are moving forward, Simon, I'll get to you in just a brief moment. It's knowing that there's going to be no politicians in the new earth, right? We know that there's no need for big government. The town is where the power is. And I know that a lot of the towns majority are asleep. And so it's crazy to waste our energy, as Eddie was saying, right? Don't focus on those who are still asleep. Focus on those who are seeking to know more, seeking to know their rights, seeking to be self-governing. And we do have a long way to go. And I saw that in the Telegram thread, in how far humanity still needs to go in regards to self-governance. It is a journey. And as each of us continue to stand for freedom, we continue to say, okay, this is enough. I will not tolerate this in my life anymore. We are going to collectively create that new earth. And so I'm looking at every intentional community is going to require structure, right? Every river needs a bank so it flows where it's meant to go. And this is why every intentional community still needs a plan council. We can call it whatever we want. The plan council model is really that way of structuring the new town model, right? This is where there's no more hierarchy anymore. It's more of a round table. And again, everyone's a leader. And we're offering, in LifeForce Canada, we're offering that foundation of teaching self-governance. I do have a guy that I met last week with Theo Fleury and Svetlana, and there's about 25 of us, and I was introduced to incredible people here, and one of them teaches the PMA, Private Membership Association. So I'm going to be talking with him this week and seeing if I can get him on one of these calls and learning more about the models that we can step into that do not require anything at all in regards to government regulations. And it's private membership model or the cooperative model. And so we're going to be looking at all these different ways of how we can be sovereign. Simon, go ahead.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share something with everyone. I've been part of a local group that started with a handful of people and has now grown to well over 200 in our last meeting. And the thing that I'm noticing more than anything else is, although I appreciate coming on Zoom calls and connecting with people across Canada, and even sometimes you're meeting people from Australia, etc. I think the most valuable work and energy we can put in is on a local level, just like what you said, Karen, about having that community, that go-to community. Who are you going to connect with? And what I see as well is when we meet in person and we start breaking up into our individual groups, it seems a lot more movement happens, a lot more action is taken. We're looking for properties to purchase, we're pooling resources. I know a lot of people in LifeForce Canada, like when I first joined, I know that there was a lot of talk about funding coming to the different groups, and there's going to be an abundance of money available. Well, my thought at the beginning, well, to be honest with you, I felt like it was too good to be true. But beyond that, I thought to myself, okay, well, I mean, that's all good, but obviously I'm not counting on that. And what I realized more than anything else is the money's already there. It's like if you build groups of 2, 3, 4, 500 people, and each person's willing to put in $5,000-$10,000 into a project, well, there you go, right? And that project can yield. Now, I know we're trying to steer away from the financial system, but that's going to take time. And in the meantime, the groups that we're developing, they're supposed to be thinking of survival and economy, and how do we build our own economy, and how do we suck money out of the mainstream economy, and don't give them a penny, but take everything you can get from them through any funding available. And so this is the kind of thing that I see really building momentum and a lot of strength. And what I noticed is that in the last month and a half, there's been more movement in this one group simply by virtue of us getting together in a physical space and connecting face to face, etc. Again, I don't want to take anything away from the Zoom meetings. I think they're valuable. I'm still showing up. I think there's value in all kinds of things, but what I'm appreciating more than anything else is that if each of these groups build strength and momentum, then connecting together makes a lot of sense, because then we can collaborate and we don't have to spin in circles. We can align forces and we can share resources and etc. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm feeling really optimistic about what's going on in my area, and I feel like it's probably happening across the board. And I know that the person who leads things is talking with people across Canada and talking to leaders in other parts of the world. And so I think it took some time for, I guess, the freedom movement to organize and deal with some of the infighting and deal with some of the issues and the drama. But I think ultimately what's going to happen is these local groups are going to get really strong, and infiltration is so much harder. It's easier to spot. It's harder to take root because people are aware that it happens and people are looking out for it. People are vetting, like groups are vetting people. They're creating multiple levels of vetting so that if anybody ever were to step into a meeting, at a higher level, they've been vetted. We know that it's a lot. I mean, it's not to say it can't happen, right? But in any case, I just wanted to share that I see that happening. I encourage other people to do the same, get connected. I'm sure people are already doing it. And I do feel like the freedom movement is getting much more organized. And I think there's going to be this collaboration. I see so many incredibly passionate, skilled, resourceful people coming together, like very resourceful people. So if people are worried about the fact that Lifeforce Canada can't provide the funding for projects, that's not an issue. The funding is out there. You just need to connect with people. It'll all come together. All right. So with that, I yield.
Thank you for your words, Simon. I so appreciate everything you said. We have been following Kim from Lifeforce Global, and that was the whole premise in the very beginning, was that this funding was going to be available. And then when we started Lifeforce Canada, I shared with everyone, yes, this is over here as a potentiality, and we're going to create our councils, create the ratification documents, do everything that we did. We worked 10-hour, 15-hour days to get all these documents done, and then the plug was pulled for different reasons. However, at the same time, everything that we're doing here at Lifeforce Canada, all of us, we are developing our skills, right? All of us, we are developing so much of who we are to become in the new earth. And so it doesn't matter if there's the experience of failure or the experience of setbacks. everything that we're moving through is happening for a reason and a higher purpose. And as Simon said, you know, we're all connecting here because the information that you receive here, you get to now take that to your community where you are and say, hey, there's this guy, Eddie, you know, and he wants to help your community. And so because I'm so passionate about connecting all the freedom movements, it's very exciting what's happening. And you're right, Simon, more freedom movements are getting organized. The expression that I'm receiving is that the council model that we have for these intentional communities is exactly what is needed. Mark, yes, when you joined, you thought that the community structure organization was already in place. It is in place in regards to a council model. So we do have provincial councils. Many of the different provinces have county councils created already. And so when the PGSD dissolved, that there was everyone unplugged from that, and it caused a little bit of confusion, and it was kind of put on hold. But now I am saying, because I have so many people coming to me now, many people, many leaders in the freedom movements within Canada, they love what we are doing, what we have co-created here in the council model. And so we need to plug back in again and begin to have those conversations. What does that council model structure look like for you? Because we are all unique, and it doesn't have to be a template, a plug and play template that works for everyone. Or what do I want to say? It doesn't have to be a standardized model, because we are creating sovereign models here. And so it's going to be really, really important that as we move forward, and I'm starting to do this now, is I'm creating step-by-step procedures on how we can create these models. And it's very similar to what Lauren with Thrive has been sharing in the freedom cells. You know, he's been saying, Karen, we have these created already. Let's join forces. You know, it's groups of 8 people, because once you get beyond 8, there can be power struggle. And so you create communities of 8, and you start there, and then all of a sudden you begin to create the concentric circles, and that just begins to create the intentional community. And it's very exciting. And of course, Ray and Cindy from Activate Us, they have a bridge model that they showcased here, and they're going to be offering a workshop in the beginning of May. I recommend all of you take that workshop, and we learn how to bridge and create conflict resolution models and nonviolent communication, because that's the biggest issue that I'm seeing, because a lot of people don't know how to self-govern themselves, and that's going to be one of the biggest problems. So the more we learn communication skills, the more we learn how to grow our own food, etc. Everything you're learning here and in other freedom movements, and then you just take all the information and you bring it into your own intentional community. Raju, hello, Raju. I'm
Hi
hearing
guys.
I'm hearing
Thank you.
so many amazing, incredible things about you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm doing my best to distance myself from all the political misuse of what is happening in my province, but I have some analysis that I did about what is happening and what happened, especially with the departure of so many people from the life force, especially those who were involved in PGSD. It's my opinion, and according to my analysis, PGSD recommended at that time for every single assembly and council in the world to define their bylaws. Now, this is a big catch there that is not obvious for everybody. Why did they recommend to write bylaws for your particular region and to overthrow the natural law. Because what is a bylaw? The bylaw is the arrogance of a man to define laws above the natural laws and above the resolution of one accord. So this was exactly the idea and the target of those infiltrators that Tank referred to them at the time that he was in the life force as a scourge of the earth. His words, not mine. He referred to himself what is going to do in the future, right? So this is what he referred to the deep state agents and infiltrators, that they work diligently to have their proteges in their own assemblies, in the worldwide assemblies and council, to control and to continue to work together. I am firm convinced that this is the current situation even today. Kelly Assey and Tank, they are working with a new forming elite that now they claim that they are not in a structure anymore, but they are, because they are already organized. And this infiltrator, for somebody who has a critical thinking, the minimum amount of critical thinking, you can identify them by the action. Their action is to pat each other on the back for every single thing, every single kind of immaterial contribution, because they don't even have the intellect to conduct a mass of people. They cannot take over a government in case the vacuum happens. They have no idea how to deal with these issues. Anyway, that was a kind of dissertation. The idea that PGSD promoted and the current forming elite, you may have a good idea who they are in every single committee, in every single council. You know them who they are. The idea is to apply what Charlie Ward and Simon Parks and other Trump's supporter told about 1 year, 2 years ago to all the others sympathizer. Take your popcorn, sit on the couch and watch the show. What this tells you, you have to do nothing. This is mandatory for the deep state to continue to enslave us. They have the ability, and I'm pretty sure that they launched this term herd behavior, exactly like CIA launched the term conspiracy theorists. Exactly. Herd behavior is because most of the people, they have a behavior that is common to the majority. And this is why I like a Mark Twain quote. If you find yourself on the side of the majority, take a step back and reflect. That means maybe you are not in the right place, right?
What's your solution?
Exactly. Another thing, we don't know at this moment absolutely nothing about project funding and project management. And somebody before me said, maybe we don't need it. What we need project management. We need people who know how to deal with a project, how to carry on from the concept stage to the finalization in the material way. But we need the funding. We can work out on ourselves. We can self-sustain if we came together as a group. So this, with Kim, without Kim, with investor, without investors, and the investor, most of them, they are scared shitless to go against the government with kind of project that I'm working on, which is an over unity free energy device.
Yes, I heard about it.
So this kind of stuff, this is suppressed from the root, right?
Yes.
But anyway, I start pretty soon to build it because I have more than 98% of all the parts that I need. So the thing is, I'm a man. I'm one engineer that has a concept, has the know-how to do it, but on the business side, I'm pretty sure in this kind of community, we can find a project manager that can schedule when we start to be close to the production stage. We can source material, we can build a community that is building up a business. So we alone, I think we have this kind of power.
Yes, we do. I agree with you 100%.
And what I would like to speak, and that will be my last contribution for today evening. Does any council in Canada has an assessment committee? Because in my thinking, the assessment committee must heavily based on professionals that had carried project in the past or had managed project in the past, because they know all the complexity on how to assess if a project, even if it's feasible or not. So this is why in Ontario we don't have an assessment committee, because intellectual very difficult to be controlled. They didn't want this. So we don't have an assessment committee because that will be out of the new forming elite power.
Thank you for expressing your views. We are always open to hearing what people's concerns are. And, you know, as we're moving forward, we're beginning to see how the old model was not going to work and how we can move forward. We are all learning, right? As Eddie stated, and many of us before have stated, we've never been here before. Right? And so we are the ones that are going to be creating the new reality. And so this is where we're going to be stepping into what I was sharing is the freedom cell concept. What Lauren's been sharing me from Thrive is when you have 8 people, it's looking at the town, the community around you, your neighborhood, because it's looking at if your internet went down, if you didn't have any access to your phone, what is your intentional community? And I don't have that myself. I mean, Sandra's 2 minutes away. I have probably another friend over here that I could, you know, get on my bike and go over, right? But this is what we have to really look at. What does our intentional community look like at a local level? Simon shared that too. So it's like we're letting go of the provincial piece. Yes, the provincial is still going to be there in regards to being an educational, supportive council. That's what provincial councils were always meant to be, is just educating on natural law, educating on health and wellness, educating and just moving that information out to the other towns or intentional communities. And so this is what we're doing here. We are all co-creating this new earth. And I think it was somebody here in the chat said, we need to have a step A, B, C. And I do believe that was Kanika. And so that's exactly what it is we need to have. And so I'm creating blog posts in our Plan Council Alberta website. And it's just a reminder, it's 7 steps to creating your Plan Council. And this is the council within an intentional community, because we do need to have that structure. And it's a simplistic model, and then you take it from there. And then we're gonna begin to grow. Thank you, Radu, for sharing about the PGSD. I have not been in communication with Kelly or Tank in many months. However, I learned being a liaison with PGSD, I learned so much. I learned so much in regards to my own leadership skills and how I could grow and serve in a more empowered way as well. And also too, I was able to meet many people from around the world. So it was an incredible experience. I'm so glad I had it. And I do want to share that my time with Kelly, we didn't have any time with Tank. I never saw Tank at all. He was on our last call, the goodbye call, basically. And my time with Kelly was incredible. He was kind. And when he made a mistake, when he took a directive from Kim, he'd say, I'm so sorry, this is the wrong information. We're doing this over here. He was very humble. He had no ego. And believe me, I can feel ego a mile away. And it was incredible. I enjoyed working with him. That said, I'm really glad that the PGSD was unplugged, because it was an exhausting model to continue with. And so I think that we're moving into a more divine masculine, divine feminine model, and more inclusive model. And I'm very, very excited about that.
What we need is more cohesion. More
Yes,
cohesion and unity.
absolutely.
And what I wanted to say as a bottom line, we don't even need any bylaws. Our
No.
bylaws is a natural law and resolution of one accord. This is all we need. Those arrogant minds that are claiming that they are doing better than that, they are not our friends.
I get it. I get it. Thank you for sharing. Yes, LJ, the new model is based in true natural law. Thank you, everyone, for your time and being here. I know that we have a lot to do and a lot of intentions of creating a beautiful future. And I know that we're going to be experiencing a lot of letting go of that Armageddon matrix as well. And so we have to make sure that, yes, we are prepared, at the same time, focusing on the knowingness that the dark forces have been taken out, like they are no longer here. It is humanity. So it's the people who are asleep. That is what we're up against, is those people who are asleep and do not realize that they're in a matrix. They do not realize that we do need to create a parallel society, because they are the ones that are going to be allowing and pushing the government agenda. And so this is where we need to do what we can to empower ourselves in any way we know that we must. Brian, go ahead.
Some of these people, they are awake, but they just still have the collar on with the leash, and they're being led. But they know there's stuff going on, and they are aware of this, but they are just people that comply with everything. So we need to try to shake the tree. And now we have the guy, Veterans for Freedoms, and this is all part of what I think is vitally important, that we get the Veterans for Freedom. And if we have a police force that is marching out for freedom, there's RCMP, there's nurses, there's doctors, there's professionals, there's judges, there's lawyers, there's groups like ours, there's multiple. We all need to work together. And as we're all divided, we have less strength. When we all come together, all of us, we will have incredible strength. So this is something that I think is of vital importance, is all these groups, all of them have to work together. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Brian. Lots of love, everyone.